I'm really excited to have the opportunity to see such a unique species. Sometimes there are common bird species that for whatever reason can be difficult to find in any given year. Maybe the species is more scarce than usual, or maybe for some strange reason you just haven't run into one yet. With some extremely common species still on my list of birds I needed for the year, I set out with my friends Chris and Colette to try and put a check mark next to a few birds I somehow missed during the first half of the year. Hey everyone, this is Ryan from Badgerland Birding. I realized that on my needs list for the year, I have a couple of species that I'm somewhat embarrassed I haven't seen yet. So I'm going to go out looking for these species today, in particular the yellow-bellied sapsucker, which has somehow eluded me this whole year. And I'm going to go out and try and find it today and see if I can feel less embarrassed about my needs list. After checking a few Milwaukee County hotspots and finding several palm warblers and getting nice views of a merlin, we got word that two birds I still needed were currently present at a green space right in the middle of the city. These two birds were my target yellow-bellied sapsucker and the nocturnal eastern whippoorwill. Whippoorwills are common during the spring and summer, but the fact that they are active at night, coupled with the fact that they have amazing camouflage, means they are incredibly hard to actually see. We arrived at the courtyard just outside of the impressive-looking Northwestern Mutual building. Before you leave a comment about this large glass building, yes, it is definitely a hazard for any birds flying in the area. Nonetheless, the trees just outside of it were incredibly birdy, and Chris and Colette immediately noticed a sapsucker. Where? I need this! The yellow-bellied sapsucker got its name for its habit of drilling holes in trees and consuming the sap that flows out of them. They are black and white with red on the top of the head and on the throat in males. The underside of this bird sometimes shows a pale yellow, which is another feature they are named for. Yellow-bellied sapsuckers are birds of eastern North America, wintering in Mexico and the southern US. They then fly north into the northeastern United States and much of Canada. We saw not just one, but many of these birds in this area, making me wonder how I had missed one earlier in the year. Near the sapsuckers, we spotted a few American redstarts and an eastern wood pewee. We also encountered a few other birders who pointed out the extremely well-camouflaged eastern whippoorwill, a bird that was not a lifer, but it was the first time I had actually been able to see one. Right up above me in this tree is one of the coolest birds that most people never even get to see, a whippoorwill. And that coloration and camouflage is just amazing and helps it really blend in this tree. And we actually found it because someone else texted us and told us it was here, and otherwise I don't think we would have found it. It would have been very hard to look for this. Eastern whippoorwills are nocturnal birds that rarely move during the day, instead opting to stay still and look like a log or tree branch. They are common throughout the eastern half of the United States during summer, and are named for the distinctive call that they make, which sounds like they are saying whippoorwill. This species primarily feeds on insects that they often catch out of the air. Got year-bird whippoorwill, so that's pretty awesome. That's one that I still needed, and this is the first time I've actually ever seen. I've just heard them at night before, so I'm really excited to have the opportunity to see such a unique species. Having checked off two birds from my year needs list, we spent some time along the shores of Lake Michigan looking for interesting warblers and sparrows. We found a few yellow-rumped warblers and savanna sparrows, but nothing else of note. From there, we moved on to Lakeshore State Park, one of my favorite birding destinations in Milwaukee, due to its picturesque views of the city skyline, as well as the interesting species that sometimes show up there. Our target bird at this location was a species that usually resides in snowy farm fields in winter, the Lapland Longspur. Lapland Longspurs make their way into the Midwest in late fall and winter, where they are often found along roadsides and in open areas. Sometimes they show up along the Lake Michigan shoreline. At this park, we immediately found many birds that are accustomed to living near water, including awesome looks at a non-breeding plumage Bonaparte's gull, double-crested cormorants, ring-billed gulls, and American coots. One bird we were somewhat surprised to see was a single greater scaup. This species typically shows up in large numbers on Lake Michigan during winter, but this one was a bit earlier than usual. We spent some time watching the edges of the grass in the park, as well as the rocks on the breakwall, turning up more savanna sparrows, and eventually getting some fantastic views of a beautiful Lapland Longspur. Lapland Longspurs are sparrow-like birds that are usually only seen in the United States in winter. They have been known to move in large flocks and are quite inconspicuous in their non-breeding plumage. Breeding plumage males are much more distinct, with black on their throat, head, and cheeks, as well as a chestnut-colored nape. We were quite happy to get such close-up looks at this particular bird. Lapland Longspur, check it off the list. I made one last stop at a nearby park to see if I could track down an elusive species, the Black-billed Cuckoo. These birds are notoriously hard to get clear looks at, even if they are around. While there were many interesting species in the area, I wasn't able to locate the cuckoo. Not able to find the cuckoo here, but still a really good day of birding in fall. Anytime it's late in the year and you can still check off some of your needs list species, it's a good day. Something fun about birding is that there are many different challenges to overcome. Whether it's trying to find a new life bird, or simply trying to check off species on a year list, there's always something to try and accomplish. I was happy to see a few birds that I somehow missed earlier in the year. That being said, there are still some out there that are fairly common that I can try to find to raise my year total. But until then, thanks for watching. We'll see you next time on Badgerland Birding.